Why wasn't I surprised by the result? Because prepare for playoffs, you have to work in a certain way. And if you don't do that, you can't expect to win against teams that do, right? I think that this is the most straightforward answer. So I don't think that the efforts day to day have matched the idea of wanting to win. On my side, do you love and are proud of wearing the Fnatic jersey and logo? Pride is hard to have if the results are not there, right? I can be proud of being in this org if I actually win something for it. And until then I will work hard. I don't think I get to be proud of being in Fnatic if the results are so shit, truthfully. As a head coach, what should be the approach in this time of what should be different in your day-to-day to have better results in summer? It's basically just gonna be a different way of how we approach players. Up until now I've been concerned about also their well-being in a way of how I talk to them, because we have some very, very sensitive people in the team. We're a performance coach now, so that will stop. He can be the happy one. I can just be harsh to them the way we see fit. I think we need to be a bit more, or we were too nice, I guess, too trustful. And that credit has kinda run its course. The results of the gameplay, I'm fine with losing to KC if both teams play well. The thing is, I would be fine losing if we gave our all, and if we prepared in a way that we should, because that's just sport, right? Only one team can win. And if we do our best and lose, so be it. But I think just no one in the team of the players besides Upset probably can look in the mirror and claim that. And that's the most frustrating part. How the members are dealing with the lose and all the flame going to certain players. I don't know how the players are getting flamed. I don't really think they look at social media. And everybody deals with the loss themselves in a different way, right? Some people are very sad, some people are a bit more angry. I don't think as a team in general we're angry enough. So I'm not surprised by the non-action to a certain level. Who do you think with the LSC now? KC is the strongest team. Before playoffs I was pretty sure it's going to be us and them in the final. Didn't work out really, right? They lost against Koi. We lost against them and G2. But KC for sure is the strongest. I'm curious about one thing, Grabbz. VALORANT team seems to get all tools needed while League takes years before getting things like in-performance coach. Of course, I'm the one making decisions, but if any input. So for the performance coach, just really important, the idea of Fnatic was that in Winter Split, the VALORANT team was way more struggling than we were. So the talks about performance coaches started in like November already. They got a junior position for VALORANT because it was more urgent. Or the coaching staff, the way they wanted to, didn't work out, right? So they got a junior position, while we looked for someone more senior. The person that was planned to get here got an offer, was like Audi was in the office in March, I think, beginning of March. We had a talk, but then that person decided for a job in football. So didn't take the offer. So we had to restart the process. And again, I was really pushy to have someone with qualifications, right? So the process was longer. And now we got someone signed. So I can't speak for what happened before in the org and why it took until this year, but at least the delay wasn't part of the first candidate in the end deciding against us and then having to start the process again. And the performance coach we have now also doesn't have that senior role that was planned, because there was no candidate that like filled that role available. So he's also a bit more of a junior position, but he will be there for someone to help. In traditional sports, a squad, more players than needed, leads to more competition across players and easier benching. What is the long-term solution in esports for not having that? Seems to affect motivation. I mean, I agree with you. If I could have, I would have benched players doing the split for scrims at least already, multiple times. We don't have it, so therefore we always rely on players having their intrinsic motivation, as you say yourself, which is something that in normal sports, the concept doesn't even exist, right? If you ever talk to a normal sports coach, the idea of not benching people doesn't compute. Long-term solution was the academy system. That was too expensive. Maybe in the future we can look to have, I mean, now that the prices went down, have an academy again where it's easier to switch between players. I think that could help a lot. When it comes to the coaching, how do you guys know whether it's a coaching issue or player issue, or do you always consider it says it's 50-50? I mean, as a coach, you always look at yourself first, right? And you second guess if what you did was correct, if the way you talk to players is correct. That being said, we have 3 coaches now on the team, and we talk to each other a lot. And more often than not, we felt like the things we did made sense. So either we all 3 stupid, or there's something deeper underlying. And I don't think, even though it manifests for you fans as gameplay, I don't think gameplay itself is the issue. I think we have more underlying issues. Technically, if you had to pay players their current salaries, which players would still stay on the roster after spring? Like, who would I keep just because they're expensive, or what do you want Janko to understand? Or who deserves your money? I will not speak about players specifically. I can say though that pretty much every position besides Upset and Miky will be considered. We had talks with the team, and the first question we had, or the first thing I told them after our loss, was that they should think about themselves if they really want to be in the team or not. And if not, then please just tell us and we can move on and look for someone else. And we will see. It could be that all 5 stay. It could be that we change multiple people. It could be one change. It's an ongoing process to evaluate. We are 3 days after the loss, so of course there's nothing set in stone. With the seemingly same mistakes and patterns occurring over and over for the past 3 years, what can be done to change these patterns? What has been done so far? Improvement is there to see this year in some aspects. It's just very frustrating that once it reaches a certain point, it regresses. Yeah, coming in. So basically the mistakes we're doing are partly a knowledge issue. This is easy to fix in a way, because you can talk about as a coach and stuff, or at least try to help there. But that would also be too easy to claim. I think, for example, Razak is someone who had to adapt a lot to how we want to play the game, and that was not easy on him. But also we have other bottlenecks in the performance that are not knowledge-based. They're discipline-based, they are... the easiest way to say is game IQ based, to understand what actually wins you a game of League and what doesn't. And then have a healthy, like, risk-reward calculation, basically. And I don't think we're great at that. And also not consistent, which is the most frustrating part. Happens very often that we make a mistake and a player, like 2 seconds after, he already knows what he did wrong and why it was wrong. It just means in that moment he, I don't know, didn't think about it enough or went with his play anyways. And so yeah, it is. I had hoped that this issue will be easier to resolve. It's not. It's something deep lying, and maybe the performance coach can help there. And also, yeah, the whole thing of not listening to each other is a big thing. Occurred again against KC. Like every time it becomes more stressful, this issue becomes harder or like worse. Where someone spends 10 seconds making a plan, and then a different player afterwards doesn't even acknowledge the plan and just say something completely different. And this is something we're aware of, right? This is something that has been talked about a lot. So maybe getting better in terms of stress resistance could be helpful. An example is Razak Vaya. I mean, it's clear to see, right, that especially on engages, even though we talk about it a lot of how we want to start fights, where we should fight, there's just no consistency to it. Nash turns are horrible, even though it's been talked about every single time that we should have a turning point and conditions. And we still go on stage in games and then sometimes just hit the Nash or hit an objective and then see what happens. Who's the shot caller? Shot caller as a concept is like very old. Normally in high level games, if you need someone to call out a play and then they just react to it, it doesn't work out. It's too slow. It's not about trust. So imagine if you make a structured plan, right? League is very complex. So I'll give an example. I tell you as a coach, if we hold the banana bush and the lion bush towards Drake and fight there, 80% of the time the fight is at reward, 80%. Like it's a very simple play, let's say 90%. Like very straightforward. So a player knows that. But in the moment, the player sees an angle and thinks, oh, if I engage you now, it's 95%. Like the players are not trolling for fun. It just, I think their thought process around these situations, for example, is just flawed. Or they don't think enough about what can happen in the game, who can follow up, and the player's not 95, it's 60. And then we have a way worse play, and the player usually also then knows it afterwards again, right? It's not like it's rocket science. It's very frustrating. Yeah, it's again, like, it could also just be our coaching, right? There's a world where afterwards, I don't know, I get fired and they put someone else in, Larry the janitor, and then suddenly everything's better. I'm never gonna say that couldn't be the possibility, right? Meaningful practice, what does it mean? Usually what it means is that, when you come in and you want to improve something, you should have a clear idea of what you want to improve. If you want to cook something and improve in your cooking, you have the recipe in mind, you have the technique in mind, what temperatures to use, etc. If you want to be better at football and let's say free kicks, you have a range in mind, you have in mind where the wall will stand, you have in mind your technique. And if you mindfully practice, you get better. Unfortunately, with this group of people, again, usually I don't want to talk about people specifically, but I can do it in a positive aspect. Upset was the only one who consistently, yes, and thank you, came in with the will to practice on a day-by-day basis. It doesn't mean that every day the others didn't, but if every day 1 to 2 people came in tired or low energy or whatever the fuck the reason might be, it just means the practice gets way worse, especially on a team level. And we did a lot of begging. Coaching staff and Upset. We had many talks as a team about how our practice goes. I've seen the interview of Oscar, I've seen the tweet. I think everybody who is not Upset and says it himself in an interview is low-key taking the piss. Because they all are part of the issue. Me included, I guess, to a certain degree. I'm not great at getting energy up, right? That's not my forte. And I could be better at this, and then maybe it would have helped. But you can imagine, for example, is if we have a system, of course, of like, you pick some bands and feelers, right? What you think is good, what is bad, what you can play. If I was upset about this matchup, he can tell me the 3 champs that have to be out, into what he wants to play it, what jungles he wants to avoid, all of this. Other players, if I ask them after the first 2 champs are out, they're like, I don't know, I guess I can pick here. I guess it's fine. That's the energy we're getting. And it's not only during the draft, but also in preparation, which then shows a bit of a lack of prep and willingness. And that's not even talking about the in-game performance. And then the last straw is either doing a bit more public shaming, which is the reason why we tweet this way, right? Like coaching staff, we do it consciously. We have asked enough during the spring. We haven't seen any result or any change. Next step is doing it publicly, because then players can't hide behind the Scrim secrets. Then the next step is benching. What Apples said, Apples is from KC. Congrats again to beating us that easily. But yeah, there is no threat system, right? Like KC is an academy. I'm not sure how often you had to threaten the possibility of saying, okay, the Scrim block someone else plays. I think this could be heavily effective. We don't have that. Were you able to identify what the deeper underlying issues is with the Fnatic League of Legends team? Is there one? Since his appointments have been happened every year since 19, despite many changes, players, coaches, officers, managers, staff, and still we drop the ball multiple times a year. Well, I do have some answers. I have to think about them, how to voice them, so I don't get insta-fired. Or it's a reason for it. I think Fnatic as an org overall is pretty pleasant to work with. Anissa, our manager in the office, is a trooper. Like, she does way more than she's supposed to. So shout out to her. She's working her ass off. Patrick is great to talk to, Karn, as the CGO. He cares, he listens, and he doesn't step on my toes, which is something important. But I feel Fnatic as an org is bloated in areas it doesn't have to be. And it could have been just like pre-COVID extensions or something, or expansion. But I think there are resources in place where they don't need to be. So it also gets very slow to get something done, like very slow. There's one particular thing that I asked in November I didn't get yet, and it triggers me to no end. Don't have to say it because it's actually very small. But it just, basically, if I need something, to make the environment better, it can take weeks and months to get a response, just because it has to go through so many levels of responsibility, and that is just the bloating of the org. And I think I can tell that probably coaches in the past had to deal with this as well, and I can see why probably some coaches like lost their mind. And in general, I mean, this is something I can say publicly for the team itself. Again, I think there's a big lack of accountability as human beings in the team. What I mean by that is usually, again, everybody in Fnatic who is here should claim that they want to be the best. So if you have that mindset and you see an issue, normally what should happen in your brain is that you take ownership and you say, okay, let's fix it, because it's in the way of us improving. What happens in here is that more often than not, a player says he doesn't know how to, or has the mentality of it doesn't get fixed anyways, and doesn't bring it even up until the end of split. When people are angry and not working well, then suddenly everything gets brought up. And then also deflecting is a big part of it as well. Yes, I wanted to, but I couldn't because this and this and this and this. And that's very common. But I think it's also a common thing in esports in general. Like, people protect their ego. Obviously, if he would be winning, these issues would still be there, but they wouldn't be as apparent. And it's also a big thing where I hope that the performance coach can help out to teach them that as human beings. It's not even about being an esports player, right? Is there an improvement in LSC teams? I mean, clearly. I don't think Fnatic is worse than last year, but we didn't grow as much as other teams did. KC plays the game good, G2 plays it good. I mean, Koi is better than us, right? I don't necessarily agree with how they see the game, or what I think they see it, because we scrim them. But at least they do it unified. And I think Koi probably is the clutchest team in the league. I think if you put all teams under pressure cooker, Koi will perform the best. Their players are the most resistant to stress, or even perform better under stress. So they're clutch as fuck. I just don't know if the blame of this lies with the players or staff or management. It's life. Life is complicated. Life is never black and white. It's everything. I could have done a better job as a coach to help this. Like, everything I'm complaining about, I could have probably find a different angle to talk about it. I could have pushed a bit more, you know? Like, I'm not saying I couldn't. I think this is very important to make the distinction here. That you deal with human beings with their own motivations, their own fears, their own personalities, their own ways of doing things. And I can sit here and say I tried 3 different approaches. Maybe the 4th one would have worked, right? You always, as a team, you find the issues you have and you work on the one you think you can, which is the biggest, that you can also fix the easiest. And there's only so much time. The team looks draft something to play into strong late game. We have one questionable play and the whole game just goes to shit. Like, what are they even doing? There's a shot calling that's awful, clearly from the last few years of in-game convoys. It's chaotic at best anyway. So yeah, it goes back to the whole not being able to listen while talking. I think that's a big thing in this team, which again is being talked about, and hopefully someone else has a better solution than I have about how to make people listen. But imagine how it feels for you if you make a plan for 10 seconds, you get told yes, and then the person who said yes does something opposite. Example, let's say Marek says, I'm strong, I want to play aggressively, I need my support jungle behind me. Support jungle say yes, but they go somewhere else. And then Marek suddenly is being 1v2'd and dies. Not saying that's what happened against KC necessarily, but if it happens once in scrims, it's fine, right? But if it happens multiple times over a long time span, you get beaten down by it. And then on stage, I guess, I mean, of course, it shouldn't happen. Like, they get paid so much money, they should be able to keep the composure. But that's why this team is very susceptible to composure loss, I agree. Hi Grabbz, what is the current solution that you're working on regarding the in-game comms talk listening issue? Ultimately, if players can't fix it themselves and the performance coach can't listen to itself, it has to be a band-aid. It has to be a clear responsibility, which would make it better, but would also heavily limit our capacity to play, or like to adapt in game. A tool you can always use is just no-com scrims, which you did. Not all, I think we should have done it more, to just not talk to each other in scrims and just play the game, because the times we did it actually was pretty good. Which means the players see the correct play, but I guess they convince each other in a way when they talk that they can do something else. So probably if I could go back in the split, I would just do way more scrims where they'll have to be muted. Perks lol, do you think Martin Wunder Hansen would upgrade your team? I heard his Grabbz is really good. Someone told me that after our loss he played more solo queue. I checked his games and he averaged like 10 deaths a game, so I'm not sure if Wunder is the solution. Baus is winning AL, don't fuck with 10 deaths a game, bro. I guess you're right. Have you thought of taking the team to a rage room? I think not enough rage is an issue. I don't think having too much rage is the issue. I think the team would be much better if people would start holding each other accountable and demanding more of each other. Which again, mostly Upset, if someone does it. Sometimes also Razok. Has anyone asked how you're doing, Grabbz? No one does it anyways. No, of course. But you know me, and I said before, I'm fine. Like I rarely get really happy, rarely get really sad. I usually am just in a flux of existing. So I'm still in that one. No, I didn't actually care. I know. I have not forgotten how you are, Wunder. Little shit. Never change. Can you explain for slow of us why can't you talk more openly about certain things, especially your players? Because I want to add context to you, and if I don't think, like, me talking openly about what player X is doing will, first of all, not make him play better. It will burn a bridge. It will increase random hate towards the player because I know how social media works. So there's no benefit of me doing that. Already me talking like this openly about how they have effort or what effort they put in is basically the last straw you have as a coach before you go direction benching. Because we don't have other pressure tools, but it doesn't have to be personal. Like I hope that if a player watches this right now and feels talked to, that should be the reason then for them to change their behavior, right? And if they feel like they're not being talked to, then good on them. I hope they're not the ones I mean. All I want to know is will we keep the team same and make changes? Either or can happen. I am not gonna sit here and say that these 5 players will be together for sure. The same way I can't say that we're gonna bench someone for sure. It depends on how players respond to the questions we have of them, how they respond to what we expect of them. It depends also on what the market can give. Because ultimately, the change should make the team better. And there's also still have to be talks with the organization and the players itself, like what are the goals, right? For example, I could be thinking, let's get players that are young and like have potential and see what happens, but that might not jive with what other players think or the org thinks for Summer Split. That being said, anyways, I have a contract in November, so for me investing in the future doesn't even make sense if I might not be there next year. So I will just do what the org thinks is best, or what their interests are, and try to make that work, basically. What are my short and long-term goals at this point? Short-term, increasing stream quality. Long-term, being more comfortable in situations that we don't really know that often. I think people like Humanoid and Upset are not the people that benefit from Fearless. And I think we need to have more practice in putting ourselves in situations that we don't know and still play the game out. I think this is something where we are not the greatest, for sure. Oscar was from Academy, KC, Heretics BDS have academies, so they get talents. Amco wants to start doing it too, Fnatic's big organization. Can't speak to it. Again, my contract doesn't even run next year, but I think there are some ideas about potentially working with teams and ELs, which I'm a big fan of. I hope we do it. So yeah, academy work might be a thing in the future. So how to sum it up best is you play how you practice. In draft, sometimes you have to answer with a carry champion into certain picks, even if you don't play towards top. An example, enemy team buy picks like Gwen, you can't go tank, right? You can't go low resource because you will eat your life. Same things with picks like Ambessa. So you still pick into a good matchup, and again, you play how you practice. So if you have the feeling that we're not helping Oscar enough in games, for example, probably means also that it's not the way we play in scrims. And it can have multiple reasons. We talked about, for example, effort in the past. If certain players can't, in scrims, bring the effort in to get played around, then you do it where people do. And I said before, Upset is the only one who can make the claim that he came in every day prepared and willing to scrim. So most games we play towards him because he was the one giving a plan, saying what can happen in the game and what we need. Whereas other people played as if we have to read their minds. So that's why, since you practice that way, playing towards bot, especially when you have multiple options, is usually what you tend to do. I can say it to every player who's like listening in, if you want to be played around, then you have to tell the team what you want to have. You need to practice in that way and put effort. Yeah, and for the, like, as the Upset the GOAT, the MVP voting, you guys have no idea. If teams had better idea of what he had to stem in the team, the split, it would be a landslide of votes. Probably the most deserved MVP voting I've ever seen in my life. And also he's the one to take, like, Upset didn't play perfect every game, right? Upset made mistakes for sure, but he's the one at least who tries to take responsibility and to give the chance to the team to carry. In Korea, first of all, cultural difference. If you're not number one, you are trash. So from society, you have the grand culture, which we can discuss about how healthy it is, how good it is for human beings, but that's just how it is. Secondly, the good Korean teams have like 4 academy teams. So if you don't play or don't do what a coach says, you don't play. And that is the minimum thing that every coach has in sports, besides in esports. I can tell you that through my old agent, I had contacts to the football world, to the Bundesliga. And I went to a Christmas dinner, and Liverpool's goalkeeper coach was there, who works with Ellison and Kelleher and all the people. And I got to talk to him, and I just asked him, okay, like, how do you convince a player to do something different that you think is better? And he just told me the classic coach answer. Like, I try to convince him, I show him why it's better, and if he doesn't do it, he doesn't play. And I asked him, yeah, but what if you don't have this pressure point of saying you don't play? And I could tell that he like had a short circuit in his brain on the concept of not being able to change a player. Like the entire like system of coaching, or like how traditional sports works, is based on the idea that if you are not the best, you don't play. And if you don't change to what is needed, you don't play. So that is always the last or the most effective resort, which we don't have. Yes, and as we said, like, we're open to change right now. I will talk to Fnatic. They're open to the idea. Again, it has to make sense on the market financially and also play-wise. And if they ask, I will be a big proponent of having an academy team. And I would use this quite a bit. From Loudest, it feels like the org is regressing year after year. We don't have an academy team anymore. We're not a clear top 2 in LEC anymore, and the fanbase seems to stagnate at best, while other fan bases are growing quickly. I'm thinking about KC and Koi. I just feel like the lol pot of Fnatic is slowly dying. Do you agree with that? How do you want back? I can't speak for that. It's business decisions, right? I was against the idea that Pete is not there. I am also not necessarily happy with how content is currently done. And I think it shows, right? And I think you guys should, and rightfully you are disappointed. It doesn't help for sure. This is also the reason why I'm doing this. Like, I'm hoping that I can give you guys some way of talking to the org or feeling included in the day-to-day, right? That's the reason I don't enjoy streaming. I don't do it for myself. I do it because I think it's necessary. Not having an academy, I mean, that just happened to many teams because of the money issues, right? G2 doesn't have an academy either, for example. We're not a clear top 2 in the LEC anymore. I mean, that's true, and we hope that this year will be different. Again, results are not great, which is my responsibility. So if that is the reason why the org is regressing, then I should just take my hat at the end of the year and leave. But I will try to make the best decisions possible to make the team great again, or to win. Team atmosphere, obviously not great, which is a good thing. I would be very worried if we lose like this and then people are still best friends. It's just important that people learn to talk to each other. This is something I alluded to earlier, that I feel like accountability is not necessarily a strong suit of the players in this roster, of saying, oh, I see an issue and I talk about it. So I hope that they learn from this. I asked them to be honest to each other and to stop pretending that everything is kumbaya and we all have to be friends. Like, I don't care if you're friends at the end of the year, I want to win. And usually you become friends through winning, by the way. Like, that's the easiest way. Like, if you put in work together and you have a result, that is the easiest bonding you can have in the world. You don't, like, this is an anime, right? You don't come in as best friends and then through the power of friendship you win. That's not how real life works. So I hope that they hold themselves and each other a bit more accountable. Someone in all caps in chat, there's less anger in the team. Players should be more angry with themselves and other players. I 100% agree. I could not agree more, especially if you want to win. But yeah, again, the angriest player is Upset normally. And he tries really hard not to be angry, and then sometimes he comes out because the day goes really bad in terms of how we structure it. William classified, what do you think about the lack of personality the team, not the roster alone, has currently compared to other iterations of the team? Do you think it's a lack of winning? I mean, yeah, winning a lot is the best approach to have aura and personality. We do have players who don't necessarily like the limelight, for sure. It's not something that I necessarily care about, right? It's for the org to use. And again, the content strategy of the org currently is a bit wild. A bit disappointing, but they're working on it from what I know. But also to make sure, right, that there's no Legends in Action coming, it's my fault in a way, because I told the org after Pete left that I don't want strangers in the room when we play on stage. I really don't like the idea of having a person that is not there consistently, filming people when they want to be joking around. I mean, every person ever in esports knows sometimes you joke around and sometimes the joke might not be suited for public, you know? And if you have a person that you don't know with a camera in the room, you will behave differently, which also means your prep for the game is different. We have apparently like a guy who was supposed to be in Berlin for 3 weeks now. I saw him twice, didn't talk to him really, so I told him in the debriefs that he can leave the room, please. It's my bad. Like, if you want more content in that regard, I can take the blame. But that's on me. What do you think of the level of competition compared to last season? Higher. I think overall the quality of gameplay around the world is getting worse, but I think the league is more competitive. That makes sense. As a Fnatic fan, what's your copium for summer? That's a good way to like almost end the stream. Like, I'm not here to give you any copium. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you believe for the sake of believing. What I can tell you is that we're heavily examining right now who actually wants to be in this team and who wants to put in the effort to actually make us winning. And we are more than willing to make changes if you think someone doesn't want to pull his weight. And with more tools, again, we're gonna have a guy who has a better insight of how like the brain works, for example, in terms of routines, who can oversee preparation for the day, for performance itself. We're gonna use these tools to try to maximize the input we can and hopefully win. The talent is there. We're gonna have to work fucking hard, like we deserve to lose because we didn't put in the work. So now it's time to not sell you any dreams or say, please believe in us. Like, you are more than in your right to doubt until you see us put in the work. Go on your knees and play good. Go on your knees, fuck my life. People are gonna, you know what I meant. Like, I meant like to beg for forgiveness, you know, but I stopped the sentence and now it sounds weird. But yeah, I'm not good at speeches, by the way, as you guys can tell. That's also why I don't do them. I'm happy with the stuff around me. I'm very happy with Duff and Gax. By the way, I see very often that you people talk about me and Duff. Don't forget Gax, he's doing a great job as well, especially for his age. Still very young, needs a bit of guidance, but he does a really good job. So yeah, don't listen to me telling you how great it will be. Summer will be fucking hard. We're gonna have to suffer. You can be along for the ride if you want to be. I hope you are. But also, I don't expect you to blindly believe us after all these years. I will give my all. And I'll make sure that everybody who will wear this jersey in summer will also give his hardest and give his best. And try to not only go to Worlds, but also show performances that we can be proud of. And that's all I can say. What's the next step to change the players' mindset to be champions? It's not a big step, but just tell them to work hard or get fucked. That's just how it is, no? Like, I hate this empty talk about wanting to be the best, then also work like someone who wants to be the best. Going into playoffs, I told them very clearly that just coming to practice and playing your 5 to 7 scrim games is not enough. That is the minimum. That is what every team in playoffs will do. And I asked them then to think what they can do more. What is something that, for example, KC players would do more? What would G2 do more to improve themselves in the team? And the answer to this was like very unsatisfying. In a certain way, I didn't even get an answer of certain people. And that will change. They will have to bring something. They will have to bring something of themselves that they didn't do before if they want to win. And if not, I am very happy to sell them to, like, I don't know, SK or BDS. Then they can earn their paycheck and they can be mediocre if that's what they want to be. But then they should not be in this organization. And this has been made very clear.